Blog Talk Radio.
I stumbled in one late night. He was waiting up and sat me down. Said, I think it's time you move on, son. I pray you turn your life around. For years he tried to paint me a picture. Every day you waste, you won't get back. He said life is not a dress rehearsal for another, and the train you're on is running out of track. Now I survived some hard times, and I am finally finding my way. We don't get to talk much, Pop, I hear you every day. And when life hangs a cloud, I think about you. 2 years in prison camp, World War II. Sleeping on a flatwood bed, your helmet was your pillow, and still you shared the last piece of bread. Today is not the first time I have tried to sit you down, but it might be my last chance. Tell me you're not turning round. And I have tried to tell you forever how much it's meant to be your son. But I was trying to be so damn clever, so you never heard, but tonight I swear I'm gonna get it done. And when life hangs a cloud, I think about you. 2 years in prison camp, World War II. Sleeping on a flatwood bed, your helmet was your pillow, and still you shared your last piece of bread. Today is the first time I've laid flowers on your grave. Papa, rest in peace now. I'll treasure always our last word.
Welcome to a special live broadcast of Big Glen Radio's Military Monday show. Today's show honors those who have served in the past, those who serve in the military now, and the families all connected with those who serve, because they are all serving. You just heard Song for My Dad, and that is by the late and great Jimmy Yessian. Our last conversation with him was with this song and this album, The Future. That's his last solo album. So, Jimmy, we hear your last words and your last songs. So may you rest in peace and keep playing music wherever you're going, because you're one of the best songwriters on the planet, wherever you are.
Those are great lyrics, man. I'm going to cry.
So when you hear his music and you hear that song, you've got to realize everything we go through in life, there's someone who's doing something harder, going through something harder. And I think our men and women who serve have definitely done that, and the families, whether it's now or in the past. And that's what this show is about. So we're going to start the show. We've got our friend Mike Guardia, who's going to co-host the show, come back on in a little bit here. But we've got to start with our friends over in Asheville, North Carolina. See, this is the thing. We have these adventures there. And no matter what happens, we keep going back there. Uncle Ted, who is an amazing guide and storyteller and musician on the Gray Line bus tour, says, Asheville is a vortex. Well, I believe he's right, because we keep circling back and our friends Steve and Karen over at the Lion and the Rose Bed and Breakfast. Maybe they are a vortex. Are you the vortex you do? Is it Ozzy? And is it Oreos and dogs? What is it? How are you guys
I'm
doing?
guessing it's something to do with Ozzy.
Oh.
He's just that crazy train of whatever.
I don't know. Bob Newhart. Oreo is Bob Newhart, so maybe, just saying. But welcome back to the show, you guys. Everyone, the Lion and the Rose Bed and Breakfast is in the historic Montfort district, and it is an amazing Victorian bed and breakfast. But these two innkeepers are not your grandma's innkeepers. However, they respect grandmas and grandpas and veterans. And you guys you do that program. Like I know Tiffany's Bed and Breakfast does it out in Hot Springs, and some of the bed and breakfasts we've stayed in do this. Karen, tell us a little bit about that.
So that is called B&B for Vets. It's something that a bunch of our bed and breakfasts nationwide decide to give a free room or rooms to a veteran in honor of Veterans Day. We all choose the date accordingly, whatever works for our schedule, but we do it as a random contest. So we have people just send their information, and we draw a winner. And our winner is actually coming in tomorrow for their free stay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we enjoy it. It's nice to be able to give back. Both of our dads are veterans, so it's nice to give back to those who served, and so they know we appreciate them and respect everything they've done.
Oh, that is awesome. And I want to go to, who do you want to give a shout-out to? Because today we're talking about veterans and those who've served in the past and now, And I know Veterans Day is coming up November 11th, and everyone, we have a special broadcast on that day, too. But, Veterans Day is those who are serving now and those who are living and those who have served that are alive. There's Memorial Day that's a little different, right, that we're honoring those who have passed. England is Remembrance Day, and you'll hear that with Glynn-Burrows from Norfolk Tours in England later on in the show. But we have Arlene-Gould talking about her Uncle Earl, right? Her whole family was involved in World War II and everything, but not all of them. But her Uncle Earl signed up for World War II when he was 14 years old. And snuck in, and at 15 years old was on the USS Enterprise in the Pacific.
Wow.
Still alive today.
My best friend's dad, he did the same thing. He joined at, I think, 16 in the Navy, World War II, just so he could go with his buddies. He was in Japan and all that stuff.
That's amazing.
Or in the South Pacific, anyways. Yeah.
It is, right? It really is. Who do you want to give a shout-out to and honor today, Steve?
Well, my good friend Captain Jay Schultz. He served a couple of tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, and one of the funnier guys I know, and we love to hang out with him. He does stand-up comedy sometime, and if you're in Nashville and he's doing it, I'd recommend checking him out.
Cool. Wait, we haven't met him yet? Seriously?
No, you have not. You absolutely need to next time you're here.
Are you kidding me? You've got a stand-up comedian? Are you kidding me?
Part-time.
Cool. Yeah, but
cool.
Will he handle our nasty humor?
Oh, are you kidding me?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Cool.
Will we be able to handle him? I'm not that
probably.
Oh, yeah. They're the ones that we do all the crazy costume things with. We do all the fun events with them.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. You guys,
His wife,
you guys
Christy,
have
you
been
like to have fun.
busy, especially over Halloween. You guys were, like, how many costume changes? It's crazy what you guys did.
Golly.
And this,
How much fun is that?
I think you guys could do the Sound of Music
I
one
know.
year because of the Oktoberfest outfits. The first thing I went and I was like, you guys could do the Sound of Music, but like do it like a naughty Sound of Music. I don't know, Sound of Music,
YOLO.
like because the Kiss
You can't
outfit.
do that to Joey.
No, but you saw them all dressed up, all for Oktoberfest, and Karen's got her little braids, and she's all la la la, and then there's they're doing Kiss. No, but then they're doing Kiss.
Who would do a better
So,
Julie Andrews, me or Karen?
I know. I don't know, but if you could mix Kiss and the Sound of Music for next year, I would really love that.
I think I would fall down that big old grass hill, though.
You
could roll down it.
Not by on purpose.
And I love the Halloween decorations too, by the way. I know we talked a little bit on the last show, and everyone, we host an Adventures in Asheville show every first Tuesday. So the last Tuesday was Off the Hook Crazy with musicians and theater folks, and you can find it on a YouTube channel. You guys have to all listen to this because it seems like there is a lot going on, man. We're coming back
definitely.
again. You know, we're coming back, and we're going to be there in December and now January.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Is Burnsville?
Burnsville. Yep. To the north of us.
So okay, and that's in the mountains, right? That's where we're going to be.
Yep, you're going to love it. We love that area.
Cool.
So
it's the other opposite end of Chimney Rock, like, right? So
yeah, it's to the north. It's to the north. So we kind of gone that way on the Parkway when we try to do some of the waterfall hikes we like up in that direction. It'll be part of Pisgah National Forest, but it's the northern side of it.
The Pisgah.
Yep,
The Pisgah. So, like, Karen, who do you want to get?
Shout out to Pisgah.
The Pisgah. The Pisgah.
It's like pizza.
Karen, who do you want to honor today?
I would like to honor my dad because he's an Army veteran, and that's kind of what made me feel the respect and appreciation for our military, and just want to give back and show them that we haven't forgotten them. We always remember them. We love them for everything they've given us. We wouldn't be where we are today without them.
And to do it while they're here,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to keep acknowledging, and that's the thing,
Yes.
It's so important to do it while everyone is here, and then and to continue once they're passed. The World War II too. We look at this, and they're saying the greatest generation. I thought I was the greatest generation, just all on my own, but apparently not. But,
I'm not going to say anything.
No, but then you go back and listen. When you go back into World War II times and listen to the music, it's pretty darn good. Just saying. Yeah. They had some good lyrics. And
True.
I
love
did.
That music.
I think their music was full of hope and love and simplicity of life, of what is real.
I agree.
You know what I mean? When you go back and listen to the 30s and 40s and 50s music, jazz and blues and soul, they had it. Everybody had it at that time. And we've cluttered it up a little bit, but we like that too. We like a little clutter. But that's I love that what you're doing with the B&B and giving a room once a month, right? Once a year. It's
So we do that. We do that every November, and the date is usually around Veterans Day. Just according, like I said, we all kind of choose whatever date works for us. Right now, for the next 2 weeks, we are actually offering 20% off to any veterans or active military that want to stay with us. So you just need to ask.
Awesome.
That's
so everyone,
cool.
the website for Steve and Karen, go to lion-rose.com. Lion-rose.com. It's a very easy website to go to. And then
And
the most
Asheville
important
rocks.
thing is to actually go to the Lion and the Rose Bed and Breakfast. And it's cool. They have an amazing graveyard behind them. I always talk about your graveyard. It's like It's almost like their own personal graveyard behind the house. But they really have a lot of war heroes in that graveyard that are resting. And so go check it out. I'm not being light about it. It's an amazing place, and Asheville is a very historic and beautiful place. And so go there. Thank you both for joining us and calling in early, too, on today's show. Thank you.
No problem.
And we'll see you next first Tuesday, December. We're going to have
Can I mention one more thing?
Yes.
I mean, this doesn't have to do with anything with veterans, but we forgot on the last show we wanted to give a shout-out to Appalachian Wildlife Rescue. It's a local place that helps rehabilitate and release animals back into the wild, so whether it be squirrels, possums, whatever. We're partners with them, and they have an online auction coming up from November 7th to the 21st. One of the things you can donate to win is a gift certificate to stay here, and they have plenty of other things that you can bid on, and it all goes to their nonprofit.
Awesome.
Okay, so what's the website for everybody? And thank you for remembering. You got me my head back on straight here. So everybody, go. So this is what? Say the name again of the association.
It's AppalachianWild.org.
Wow.
It's not Appalachian. It's Appalachian.
No, that's Appalachian.
Correct.
No, it's true. They say they'll throw an Appalachian, right?
Them be fighting words.
Yep.
So Appalachian.
Appalachian.
Listen, the fall colors are still out there in your area, right? In some
it's starting to fade now. We just had a wedding party this weekend, and luckily the leaves were still there for their beautiful pictures, but now they're starting to blow off and definitely fading now.
Yeah, the wind is coming, and it's all, it's in big heaps at the side of the road, like somebody raked them all up, but they didn't.
But they have discovered when the leaves are off the trees, if you're into bird watching, this is one of the best times, and you will see bald eagles in certain areas.
Very cool.
Does that happen for you guys in your area at this time of year? Bald eagle sightings, or is that
I've seen bald eagles actually during the fall leaves, like when we've been driving on the Blue Ridge Parkway. So like October, right now we're seeing a lot. We get the holly berries, so we're seeing a lot of birds come through to pick at those.
Cool.
We'll get swarms of robins after those. But Lake James has the bald eagles.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is not too far down the road from us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, we'll see you guys soon. We're going to see you in December. Can you believe it?
I know.
I'm
excited. We're excited.
What is this? We just keep coming back. We're like a back penny. Seriously, I can't wait. Nancy can't wait. We're like, we'll see you soon. And that means we need to go to Rock Bottom. Isn't that the place? The Rock Bottom? What is the place that we went to? Rock Bottom? Bottom Rock? Bottom?
Oh, yeah.
Rock?
What is it?
Creekside place.
That Creekside place, right? Or no?
Bold Rock.
Bold Rock. I keep calling it Bottom Rock or Rock Bottom. Oh, okay. Well, Bold Rock.
Maybe after too many ciders, you hit rock bottom?
Yeah, really. I never hit rock bottom.
Cat.
Well, we'll see you soon, guys. Thanks for calling in. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, no problem.
See you guys later. Look forward to it.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
All right, so we're going to go on to our next favorite Steve. We had Steve and Karen Wilson there from the Lion and the Rose Bed and Breakfast, but our next favorite Steve, too, has been on our shows for years, and that's Steve-Schneickert. And since today is a show about veterans, we're going into the vault because years ago we did a show in Julian, California, where we used to live, but we did a special show. I think it was the 4th of July weekend, Nancy, or Memorial Day, one of the, it was a special show. And we went to the American Legion, and we did the show there. And Julian is in San Diego, California, up in the mountains. Apple pie is what they're famous for. And we did a show at the Legion. They made us our own bomb shelter so we could air live.
I know. That was so cool.
And I remember going outside, and we met veterans from all wars.
Yeah.
World War II, Vietnam, current wars, Gulf War, and it was probably one of the most moving experiences we had. And Steve recorded a special Hollywood history. Steve Schneickert is, our Hollywood historian here on Big Glen Radio, and he recorded this special Hollywood history segment. And so I thought today we'd play it. What do you think, Nancy?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay, here it is. I'm trying. That's not the music. It's doing it anyway.
Okay.
Oh. Hey, it sounds like Julian.
Oh, righty then.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for purple mountain majesties. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be a part of this auspicious occasion. Thank you, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith. I would like to dedicate my Hollywood history segment to Julian Post 468, son of the American Legion, Warrior Foundation, and Freedom Station, to past, present, and future men, women, and canine veterans. Thank you for keeping our freedom alive and keeping us out of harm's way. To comply with the time limitations within my segment, I would hopefully entertain you with Hollywood history during World War II. This is no joke. This is war. World War II has begun. Over there, bum, 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 bum. 7 December, 1941, a day that will live in infamy. Germany and Italy have announced they are at war with the United States. America immediately responded by declaring war on the two Axis powers. 3 days ago, U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt announced America was at war with Japan, the third Axis power, following the surprise attack on its naval base at Pearl Harbor. I'll be seeing you. Don't sit under the apple tree. Ba-da-ba-dum-bum-bum-bum, I'll be home for Christmas. There's no place like home. Click, click. There's no place like home. Click, click. Since television was neither an entity or possession in one's home at the time, families flocked around their radios or went to their local movie theaters to view the updates of the war via Movietone's updates. Immediately, Hollywood studios began producing and filming war stories. Many movie stars left Hollywood to enlist in the armed forces to fight for their country. James Stewart, Clark Gable, Alan Ladd, Jack Lemmon, Burt Lancaster, producer Norman Lear, just to name a few. In Hollywood, the Hollywood Canteen opened and was sponsored and attended by many, many of the leading actresses to entertain our troops while home on leave. Pin-up girl posters were printed up to entertain our troops while abroad. Lauren Bacall, Betty Davis, Yvonne DiCarlo, Ava Gardner, Susan Hayward, Rita Hayworth, and most notable was Betty Grable. Big names of the music industry and entertainment field flew to the Pacific and Europe to entertain our troops and nurses. Bob Hope, thanks for the memories. Al Jolson, Tootsie, don't cry. Oh, mammy. Glenn Miller, in the mood. Ba-dum-ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum-bum. Tommy and Jimmy Dorsey, Tangerine. La-da-dee-dee-dee. The Andrews Sisters, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boys, Company B. Bah! Jane Froman, With a Song in My Heart. Benny Goodman and Lawrence Welk, a one-a and a two-a. Brump, bump, 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 brump, bump, 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 pop. This historical event of World War II has spawned hundreds of films, several of them brilliant. To name a few, Since You Went Away, The Story of G.I. Joe, The Best Years of Our Lives, Sands of Iwo Jima, The Green Berets, 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, The Great Escape, From Here to Eternity, The Bridge on the River Kwai. Patent, Saving Private Ryan, Flags of Our Fathers, and the list goes on and on. Unfortunately, there were some casualties that saddened the Hollywood community during the war. The first female casualty was Carol Lombard on 16 July 1942, Leslie Howard on 1 June 1943, and Glenn Miller on 15 December 1944. War seemed to never end. I feel truly blessed to live in America, and I am grateful to all veterans past, present, and future. America, America, from sea to shining sea. I am Steve-Schneickert, and this is Hollywood History as I recall it.
And ladies and gentlemen, we do have Mr. Steve-Schneickert here with us on Big Blend Radio. Welcome back, Steve. How are you?
Doing well, Nancy and Lisa.
Hey.
It's so good to hear your voice.
I know. We've been waiting for it. And then, going back, that was the vault. We really went into the vault for that.
Yeah, that's the first time I've heard it than the original time.
2014? 2013?
Yeah.
2014? I think.
Yeah, it was an early one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying, and it wasn't 4th of July. I think it was for Memorial Day.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, or Labor Day. It was
No,
it was Memorial Day. Yeah. And what an amazing, and I remember that event being so, is one of those events when you talk to people who've been through war and you're just like, you better hold yourself together because they held themselves together. You know what I mean? They
That's
went through it. You didn't, and you want to cry because of what they went through, but you are not allowed to, you know? And your Hollywood History segment touched so many people just in that bomb shelter that they made us, but also the audience online, and that was, I think that's one of your best pieces, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it was fun to do because it was emotional.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
There was a lot of heart put into it.
To you, right? Didn't your dad serve?
Oh yes, in World War II and the Korean War.
Wow.
And then he retired a full colonel.
Oh,
wow.
Cool.
Yeah, actually in 1967, he went away to school to get the rank of general. But then, due to unfortunate circumstances, he was hospitalized and then sent home. So he couldn't do it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wasn't meant to be.
Did you have him in mind for honoring today for veterans or somebody else?
Him, absolutely.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Your daddy. Yeah, your dad. You know, it's when you think about, like, Hollywood history, too, that connects to that personal, I mean, what family wasn't connected to World War II or World War I, the Korean War, Vietnam? We all were, and we are all still connected with what's going on with the Gulf War, right?
Right.
And I think that's what happens with Nancy's all out. So I think a cat just walked up Nancy's leg. Just everybody, we are airing live from Tunkhannock, Pennsylvania, just so you know. And we are taking care of like a brood of kittens. Seriously. So when Nancy goes, "How?" I know a kitten just jumped up and walked up her leg. Am I right, Nancy?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Still hanging there.
And hanging. Hanging.
Nancy loves those pussy cats.
I do.
Yes, she does.
What's new, Pussycat? Whoa!
Oh.
In fact, we played that for them every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And they all look at us like, the new thing is you're going to feed me, right? You know what I mean? Dude, that's how it happens. So you're going to stay on the line while we bring Ward-Heinrichs on the show, Steve?
Sure.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Stay tuned. So Ward-Heinrichs is the San Diego employment attorney and also veteran, a Marine veteran, and Ward is on our show every fourth Wednesday with employment law news of California. And you know California is full of actual news. Like there's things happening nonstop in California. But the most important thing is Ward has done so much work. Welcome back to the show. Ward, how are you?
Thank you, Lisa. I am doing well. I have to say that we're seeing some rain here, and we're all happy about that in San Diego.
That is awesome.
You need it.
That is
we have the
so
rain
good
here
to
in
hear.
San Jose, too.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. So it's a big storm.
Wow. Cool.
It's going to be bigger tomorrow, apparently, as I understand.
I've heard that before.
Poll day is supposed to be a day where you definitely want to bring your umbrellas if you're going to vote in person.
Right.
And everybody goes.
And by the way, Ward, thank you for your service.
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming that I hadn't heard this, Steve, but I heard that, but I'm assuming that you were also in the service.
Actually, no, I wasn't. My draft number was 332, and I had rheumatic fever. So no.
Okay, yeah. So back
but
in
my
the
two
Vietnam
brothers,
days. Yep.
Right. But my two brothers and my dad were veterans.
Well, that's good. That's great to have the history like that in your family. I have some of that too in my family. I had two uncles that served.
And thank you, Ward. And how did you go into the military? What led you there?
Well,
he was a
really, here's no. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly story. A bunch of my fraternity brothers and I were sitting around drinking beer, and the one who's kind of the crazy leader said, "Hey, here's what we're gonna do. We're all gonna do the Marine Corps. It's not boot camp. It was called platoon leaders class back then, and so that's something you did when you were in college during the summers. It's not ROTC. It's almost. I mean, it's very similar to boot camp. I mean, the physical shape I came back in after that was amazing. I was in great shape. They really worked you hard. And you did all sorts of leadership skill things too. So I did that in one summer, and then then the recruiter came by and said, "Hey, what are you going to do? We want to know." And I said, "Okay, yeah, I'm in." So that's really how it happened, and I was in just about a year later, on active duty.
Wow.
Wow, on active duty. So tell us about that. Like, where did you go? What happened? Like, going into it?
Well, all right. So in the Marine Corps, you go to the basic school if you're an officer, and that's a 6-month school where it's really leadership training. And you learn all sorts of different skills, orienteering, which means using a compass in the dark and things like that, and then tactics, battlefield tactics, and some logistics. And so there are many different types of skills that are used in making a combat-driven core go. And so we touched on almost all of those. And so after that 6 months, then you've got a good building block, and then you go out to what we call the fleet, and you put some of those skills to use there.
Wow.
Oh, but before that though, I forgot. I was an artillery officer. I went to Fort Sill for almost a year. That's a long school. It's artillery training.
Wow. But now,
so I was in school for almost a year and a half.
Fort Sill, where is that? Where is that located?
That's in Oklahoma.
Dude, we're going to go there now. Like, I'm serious. We're going to go there next year. We're going to go to Fort Sill just for you. We're
Awesome.
I'm serious. We're going to go there. We're doing this whole thing on the historic Jefferson Highway. Seriously, it goes from Winnipeg to New Orleans. It's the oldest vacation road in North America before Route 66, and it's a revival, and we're part of it, and we're going to do it, and we're going to go to Fort Sill now.
Oh, yeah. I've seen some of those different, not advertisements, but announcements about that road. What'd you call that again?
The Jefferson Highway.
Jefferson, that's it. Yeah, Jefferson Highway.
Yes. And
named
so
after
Lincoln
Thomas
Highway, which
Jefferson.
we were on the other night, and we got total. I don't even want to talk about what we did on the Lincoln Highway, but Lincoln wouldn't be impressed. But listen, I want to tell you, Ward, I got pulled over in a cornfield in Indiana. Where were you to help me? For lawyer, Ward. Listen, I got out of it.
Yeah, I spent many a weekend night in cornfields in Indiana, so I get it. It happened.
I got pulled over, and I got out of it. Do I get points for that?
You do. I never got out of it. Oh, one time I did. One time the officer, it was at Indiana University. I was going to Wabash College, and I'll get into all that stuff later. But he pulled me over. I forget what I did. Maybe I was speeding a little bit or something. And he yanked my license out and wrote on the back and said, "If this guy gets another stop, give him a ticket." So I guess I got off on that one.
Dude, printed out a actual
right on the back
of my warning. I got a printed warning out of his cop car.
Yeah, he went and I don't know if he has a fax machine or what in his car, but he came out with a printed, 8.5 by 11 sheet, a warning.
Wow.
2-page warning out of his car.
We've obviously not been pulled over in a long time,
so
but to get printed out in a cornfield is a whole other deal.
So here we are.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different, but how did he print stuff in his car?
And let me just tell everybody, if you go on a country road in Indiana, it's 50 miles, not 55 like the rest of the country.
Oh, no, it's
50.
No, this is how it works. It's 50 miles for 5 miles, then 55 for 5 miles,
and
then 50 miles
construction zones
for 5 miles, and every time there's a twist in the road, it goes down to 50. So the speed limit changes every 5 miles.
So that they can make money.
And
there are roads like that in Indiana. But it's usually linked to small towns, and some of them are so small you don't even know you're going through a town.
But they're
so you're just going along and you're happy and you're still going 55 and
But listen,
might even
we
be
did
45.
get a courthouse photo for you. We did go to a courthouse. We did go to a lake. We had a wonderful time and then I got pulled over. But before that, we did our due diligence of law and order.
It's a new song called "I Got Pulled Over in a Cornfield."
I know. I did, but you go in this whole military thing. You ended up in Hawaii though with this, right? I mean, from the cornfields to Hawaii. I'm just going there. That was my roundabout way of introducing that you went from a cornfield to Hawaii.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's a good segue for me.
Yeah.
After Fort Sill, after I did my artillery training, I went.
Wait. For Ward, it's really Fort Still. Sorry.
We're probably talking about two different places then, because this is Fort. So we used to call it Fort Silly, but Marines acting up.
I like that.
And then so as soon as that was over, then I shipped out to Hawaii, which was really cool. I mean, all of a sudden you get in there and you're going, oh, this is so tropically great. You're thinking this is going to be great, and it was. It was a great place to be stationed, and a great place for artillery too, because then we go to the Big Island, which has between the two mountains, Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa, and they're both about 14,000 feet above sea level. And actually, they're the largest mountains in the world, because if you go all the way down to the bottom of the ocean where they start, they're bigger. They're like 33,000, so they're like 4,000 taller than,
I thought Kilimanjaro was. Oh.
No, because it's in the middle of the continent. This is like from the bottom of the ocean all the way to the peak of that's 14,000 feet. Anyway, so between those two peaks, you have a lot of lava rock and desert. There's not a lot of rain gets in there. Some, but not a lot. It's not tropical. And that was a great place to shoot artillery. There's basically nothing out there.
So when you're doing I know you were in artillery, so that means you're like shooting guns? Are you doing cannons? What are you doing with artillery?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we shot howitzers, which is a type of cannon.
Yeah.
And we would carry small arms and.
So cannons. When we think of cannons, we see the old people running around in the old times, like carrying them and dragging them across a field. You're not doing that, right?
Well, they're either mechanized, so they kind of look like a tank. We didn't have that type. We had the type of howitzer that was pulled behind a truck.
Oh, so you had trucks. So that we did upgrade from human to.
So you didn't have to push them. You didn't have to pull them. No, you had vehicles pulling.
You didn't take the round ball and shove it down the snout?
No, didn't have to do that. The breech is in the back, and you open it up from the back, and you throw in the charge, and you throw in the projectile, and you close it up, and then when everyone gets the all clear, then they pull the lanyard. And I don't even know if they do that anymore. I really haven't kept up on the technology. That might be
I wonder if that's
mostly
what we
automatic
did in
now.
Camp Pendleton all the time when we lived in San Diego. Like we used to live in Vista, and Camp Pendleton was our backyard. You know, I know that Camp Pendleton's in Oceanside, California, but we would hear kaboom.
I hear them from where I live, and I live in the city of San Diego. Yeah, and there's some nights if the climatic conditions are not the climatic, aero, anyway, the conditions outside are right, then you can hear them all the way from Camp Pendleton, which is 50 miles from where I am.
Yeah. Oh wow, that's not that far. Yeah, yeah.
With a big boom.
But Camp Pendleton is impressive. It is. It's in the largest amphibian base, I think it is. Am I
Boy,
even
that may
saying that
be.
right?
It is very large, and I'm going to say, it's probably square miles wise the largest marine base. But boy, 29 Palms is big too.
Yeah, we lived there
I don't know.
too. We lived there too.
I'm going to say Pendleton's probably larger.
No. One is the amphibian, and one's the largest. They both have a large thing going on. That sounds really bad, but it's true. But honestly, our drummer from our band was in on the base, and we would go on the base all the time, and it was kind of freaky. They were always like, "I'm taking your license and checking you out," But we went on there all the. We went to the school. We did interviews on the school on base, and that's when I realized we did the musician go visit friends and family thing. We've done gigs. Our band did gigs and Camp Pendleton had its own beach that we performed at as a band.
One of our band members was part of the military, and he stole a car.
We don't need to talk about that right now.
Marines on holiday, yeah.
Listen, he stole a van, and then that's a whole other story. We do not need to be putting on the air, and even Ward, as an attorney, would say, "Don't tell it on the air," right, Ward? Do not tell it on the air. But it's really fun. It's all over with now, but it's fun. It's over with. It was a fun story.
Sounds great, and there are some good beaches that are connected with Camp Pendleton for sure, and they use them for amphibious assaults. I've seen that. I've actually seen some of that.
We were playing underneath I felt like we were playing. It was just a whole different gig when we played on the beach and on Camp Pendleton. They had we had the cloth that went over the stadium that we were performing
camouflage
on.
Is what you're trying to say.
Camo gear. We were in that, and it was so different. And it was like a whole different performance. You knew who you were playing to, and you gave everything you had in your body and soul because, and then it was like, dude, let's roll up on stage. We're going to roll from here to here. People were the band we were being like, dude, these are people who do shit, Oopsie. Sorry, I said it again.
Hello.
But we did. But you know what I mean?
Hello.
We were so we wanted to give everything we had to the audience so much. It wasn't a USO tour. We weren't that, but it was Oceanside. It was our community. It was our family. You know what I mean? And it meant everything. It was probably and our band was breaking up at the time, but it was more important that we did that gig really well than our band breaking up. You know what I mean? Even though it was breaking up, it was we all did it.
I'm sure all the Marines loved it. So
they did.
Thank you.
No, they did. They really, and the crowd, I mean, it was awesome. They responded to everything, and everybody got wild and crazy.
So Ward, who are you honoring today? We're honoring you.
Oh,
because you rock.
That's right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to pick my brother because he. It's hard to even say he was a Marine because he retired as a Marine, so he's always a Marine. He did 22 years. He is a Mustang, which meant that he started enlisted and then became an officer. Ended up with the rank of major, and then now he's living in Alabama in Huntsville and working as a contractor.
Wow. We've
Contractor
been there.
for the military or just general?
Oh, he's not in the military any longer. No, now he's a civilian employee. But he uses his military experience, and that's why they have him, because he has 22 years of experience in the Marine Corps.
There's a trust factor. But if somebody served in the military, there's a trust factor that it goes beyond. Like there's you honor them, but it goes beyond that.
Yes, I agree with that. And of course, contractors like former military because of the military experience. But part of what comes with that is what you call trust factor. And there is, I think there's a heightened sense of honor and integrity. And that's a big word in the Marine Corps, integrity. And so, I think employers, civilian employers, do respect that.
They should, because it's there and it's real. Yeah.
Right. No, and listen, Ward, I know, and you know what you do in work in representing like people working, and then the actual companies hiring them. You do both, and you have a lot of integrity, and you get real about it. And we honor you. So thank you.
Well,
thank you for your service
you.
and what you do, dude.
Well,
dude, you rock. Like, are we allowed to just say that? Like, dude, you rock. Like, we have so much fun with you on our shows. Oh my God, Steve-Schneickert,
Yes.
Ward is
you
fun
rock,
on the show.
Ward.
He does,
I'm
right?
a big fan.
He rocks.
I'm a big fan.
Thanks, Steve.
No,
I appreciate it.
I look at how many people listen, and I'm going, he's doing California employment law. It's not just like an attorney of the world and all these different things. No, one specific thing. And I'm going, all these people are listening to Ward, and they dig it, and they enjoy it, and you're helping people all the time with what you do. And so we honor you, and we honor your service that you've done for this country. So thank you so much, and go have a beer, because you're in San Diego, and go have a beer for us, too.
Speaking of beer,
Ooh.
I brewed 2 batches of beer in the last month. And my buddy decided to get back on it, and I said, all right, I'm in. And so I may be able to – what was that name we came up with? Remember that show we did?
The Dirty Godiva?
Yeah, Dirty Godiva. I'll have to name one of them Dirty Godiva.
One pitch that we did years ago, and Steve and Karen that were just earlier on the show, they did a Dirty Godiva, and then you were supposed to do one too. So we need to taste off. I think we need to have one day we're going to have a big blend radio party where everybody actually meets in person, and the beer must flow. I'm serious. Hey, you guys, you have to have your beer. Steve from Lion-Rose-Bnb has to have his beer, and Chef Jeremy needs to cater the whole thing.
It's a chain. I can send you a label, Ward, for your beer.
Yeah,
nobody wants to see Nancy's label. It's gross. It's like it's. You do not want to. You know when they say about people having tattoos and then they get elder, and then like you see it, like and they start to sag. That's the Dirty Godiva.
Well, there's 2. There's
something sag.
There's
it's sagging.
A young Dirty Godiva, and there's
an
old
dirty
one.
Okay, listen.
It's a before and after label.
All right.
Okay. Well, just send me a copy. I'll take a look at it. How about that?
You brought up beer, and then it went south, but it was good. But listen, thank you so much. And Steve-Schneickert, thank you so much, too, for your Hollywood history and for your family's history. And Always fun, both of you, for joining us. We're going to have more. Hey, listen, we're going to have a Christmas party, so everybody stay tuned for that, because, you know, we get naughty on Christmas, right? You never know what Santa will put in your stocking. So anyway, stay tuned for that with Steve. I know Ward will be part of it. I know Steve will be part of it in some way, somehow. Something will happen. But thank you, guys, and have a rest of, enjoy the week. It's Monday, right? Enjoy the week. It's beautiful.
We sure will. Looking forward to tomorrow. See how everything goes.
All right. You take care, Ward. Thank you.
Take care, Ward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you, Ward.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
You're welcome, Steve. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Here's a little music for all those who have served in America. This is called Colors of the USA by Doreen Taylor. And you can go to DoreenTaylorMusic.com. Take a listen.
Flying high with the rain.
everyone, again, that was Doreen Taylor with Colors of the USA that she wrote with the National Parks Conservancy, the National Parks Conservancy Association. They are NPCA. I'm just used to saying NPCA, but it's an amazing song, right, Nancy?
I love that song. It's
like if we ever had to have a second national anthem, I would vote for that.
I would vote for that.
Exactly. Exactly. And she has done so much for veterans in music. She's out in Pennsylvania, New Jersey area, and she has done a ton, so many fundraisers. So DoreenTaylorMusic.com, people. Go check her out, get her music. She's now a DJ. She's now a radio host out there, too. She's doing so much. So cheers to you, Doreen, and everyone that you have touched in your lives and the music that you've done. We're going to move on, and Arlene-Gould is a good friend of ours. We do a Visit Natchitoches, Louisiana show every second or third Tuesday. So check it out. Anyway, so she's on our show all the time, and this story is incredible. Her family history is absolutely amazing, and it's every second Tuesday, everybody. I'm just getting it straight. Every second Tuesday, Natchitoches is on the show. Natchitoches, Louisiana. It's the oldest settlement. So here it is, Arlene's story with her family. It's incredible. Take a listen. All right, so we're talking about Veterans Day and honoring those who have served now or are serving now and have served in the past. And on this show today, we're going to be chatting with Arlene-Gould. You hear her on our shows every third Tuesday. She is the Director of Tourism for the Natchitoches CVB, the Convention and Visitor Bureau. Natchitoches is the oldest city in Louisiana. It is one of our favorite places, and so excited to have Arlene-Gould back on the show, but to talk a little bit about her family history, which ties back to New Orleans. So welcome back, Arlene. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well, thank you, and thank you for having me on the show to honor our veterans.
And so we heard that you have some special people to honor. In fact, your family history, like we need to do a whole other show just on this. Your family history is amazing. But your family history stems from New Orleans.
It does. My great-grandfather, we actually traced the 1880 United States Census, and the first documentation we have is him in the United States, in Louisiana, and it says on his census that he came from Spain. He was born in Spain, and he was 42 years of age at the time. So, yeah, since 1880, going back that far. And so I think we're probably like 10 generations maybe since my great-grandfather, because I think it's quite a few generations of our family in Louisiana now, but we do know that he came from Spain, or that's what it said on the United States Census anyway.
Cool.
So let's talk about your dad, Gerard, right? He sent us photos.
Yes.
I don't know if we can show these later for people, but we can talk about that later. But your dad served in World War II and the Korean conflict.
No, actually, my father, who was the youngest of 7 sons, my daddy was the 7th son. They had 10 children in his family, 7 boys and 3 girls. So I had a large family of aunts and uncles and a whole lot of cousins. But my dad was the youngest of the 7 sons, and he and the brother, we called him Uncle Brother, the 2 of the youngest sons, they served in the Korean conflict, but the other 5 of my uncles all served in World War II. And I didn't mention this, but I have a copy of the draft card from my grandfather, my father's father, from 1915 or 1918, I think it was 1915, from World War I. World War I.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
oh, my gosh.
But they did. They all served.
It's it's interesting to me that they're, based out of New Orleans, and yet you've got one of the iconic World War II museums in New Orleans too, which I don't think people would realize that, New Orleans. We think, let's go to Mardi Gras and Jazz Fest in French Street, right?
No, it is a world-class, beautiful, wonderful museum. I would highly recommend it to anyone. I actually grew up about 10 blocks from where the World War II Museum is located, right there near the Irish Channel, between the Central Business District and what we refer to as the Irish Channel near the Mississippi River. But it's a beautiful campus and facility. I think there's 8 buildings now, or 8.
Wow.
But I mean, if you haven't been, put it on your list. It's a must do.
Mm. So your family, I mean, you're in New Orleans. Here's this. It's amazing to me about the museum being there, but the history of New Orleans is so amazing too. But you're saying that so they served in World War II, the Korean conflict, World War I, and then you said your Uncle Clarence received a Purple Heart.
He did.
Wow.
He was injured during World War II, and came home and was ordered a Purple Heart and also another medal too. I'm not sure which, but he received a couple of honors and for his service. But and then I have another uncle on my mother's side, my Uncle Earl. He enlisted in the Navy in 1944 at the age of 14 years old.
Wow! No way.
Seriously? Served. Yeah. I heard that wasn't uncommon back in those days. I guess they wanted to serve their country. So he went to, I believe, San Diego, and he was actually on the USS Enterprise out in the Pacific, and during 1944, and he turned 15 during the month of February. He enlisted in January when he was 14, but he always tells me, but I turned 15 the next month in February. Like that made a big difference. But,
that's amazing.
He actually came home. I think they busted him when they found out he was that young. But when he came home, he became a merchant marine, and he tells me stories because he's still living. He's 92 now, and he's my only surviving uncle. But he tells me stories, and I'm smart enough, I should say, to record him as he's talking on video and documenting his stories. But he tells me about all his travels as a merchant marine, especially during World War II when he was delivering materials to rebuild Europe. And in particular, he went to Italy quite a few times.
Wow. So
I have a funny story about the Italy thing.
Oh,
he told me about one of his favorite places was Castellamare, Italy. I guess he remembered it because he went there multiple times and brought materials there. So I recently went to Italy, and I was at Pompeii. Well, I flew into Naples, and we took this charter bus, and we were going on the highway, and we were going towards the Amalfi Coast. And it was the strangest thing. I looked out the window, and y'all, I'm telling you, I get chills even repeating it. The first exit ramp that I saw, Castellamare. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's the place Uncle, we call him Uncle Black. That's the place he told me was his favorite. It gives me chills just even repeating it. I just happened to look out the window, and there it was, as big and plain as day. Castellamare.
You should have gone.
Yeah.
Well, we were on a group tour, and it was right near Pompeii. We arrived on Friday, and then that Sunday we went to Pompeii. So we did go back towards Castellamare, and I was looking for it because it's like, I know it's right here. I know it's right here. So I did. I took a picture of the sign. It came out perfect.
Cool.
So.
Wow. So it's amazing that he's still living.
Wonderful stories.
Well, he's one of, Mike-Guardia, who's, co-hosting the show with us. He talks about, this is the greatest generation, and, they're leaving us pretty quickly now. We're at that era change or age group change. And so for you to still have your Uncle Earl is really special. But I know that he's living in Lafitte, Louisiana, and the hurricanes have not been nice to Lafitte, as we've heard and talked with you. Because didn't your family have your...
You
had your own island.
He had 4 feet of water in his house, poor thing.
Oh.
He lives with his son, and he has an apartment. Their house is, my cousin's house is raised because it's not the first hurricane they've been through. I mean, they've been through Katrina and the whole 9 yards. But, so for Hurricane Ida, he was upstairs with his son, but he did have 4 feet of water downstairs in his apartment. But they rebuilt it, and he's back in his house, and he's happy as can be. He lives right there on the waterway, on the intercoastal waterway, and all the boats coming and going, and so he's at peace there. He likes it there,
Oh.
But I took him to the World War II Museum. He had never been, and he grew up in that area where the museum is located. And they happened to have an exhibit on the Merchant Marines, and they had actually a photograph of the USS Enterprise. And because it's a lot of walking and stuff, we rolled him around in the wheelchair, and we bought him, a little World War II Navy hat. So, we were taking real good care of him. But when we got to the picture on the wall of the USS Enterprise, he started telling us stories and showing us where he was stationed on the ship.
Oh,
Y'all,
wow.
it was like E.F. Hutton speaking. Everybody stopped in the museum and was leaning in so they could listen to the story.
That's cool.
But, yeah, it was. It was pretty cool. So I took him to the World War II Museum. Yeah, it was. It was really awesome.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that his home is back normal and everything too. It's but oh my gosh, what a life. What a life, and to still be close to the water too. That's pretty cool. I love that. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Well, we always joked and laughed when we found out, he'd gone through the hurricane and he, everything was fine, but we knew he went through a real rough time because they didn't have power or anything for days.
Yeah.
And we always laughed and said, well, he's been through World War II. He's been through a lot. He can handle anything. And that's what they all, even his son said, this is one tough cookie. We can't break him, So, but thank y'all for having me and let me talk about my uncles and even my cousins. I've had several cousins that served in, Vietnam and all these other conflicts, but we're very thankful for all of those who have served before us and currently, and I think that it's only right that we honor and thank them appropriately. Sometimes
absolutely.
I want to, just before you go, just touch on this, that you do have a Veterans Park in Natchitoches, Louisiana. Like, you are the oldest settlement. So when we talk about those who have served, obviously, Natchitoches had a fort. It was the final destination on the El Camino de los Tejas National Historic Trail. Did I say that right? It's late night here. Yeah, and also part of No Man's Land, which had no rule at one point, but there's a lot of military history. So that Veterans Park is beautiful. As I recall, fountains and, it's just a peaceful place to go. And it's right next to Lazion's meat pie shop.
It is. It's right next to Lazion's meat pie restaurant. It sure is, on 2nd Street. And, it's filled with bricks. People, have honored their loved ones in bricks. And just like at the World War II Museum in New Orleans, it's filled with bricks with names of people that they want to honor and keep their loved ones in memory. The Veterans Park in Natchitoches is a quaint little park. It's small, but it's very quaint.
Everybody, you got to go to Natchitoches. So I'm going to give out the website, right? Everybody, Natchitoches.com, and that is NATCHITOCHES.com. Okay, so check it out.
You got it.
I got it. So check that out. But also, thank you so much for sharing your family story, and we definitely raise a toast to your family. Really, the men in your family who have served have definitely done their duty. And look at you. Look at who you're part of this. You're amazing, Arlene. So we look forward to another conversation. We'll see you soon, hopefully, right?
I hope so. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too.
many of you know that our first Monday of every month, right? First Monday, we have Military Monday with Mike Guardia, who is an Army veteran and an award-winning author and historian and a history teacher. And he is here. He's our co-host of our shows, usually on every first Monday. But we got him back here. So, Mike, how are you?
Hello, ladies. Sorry to be late to the party, but it is always great to talk to you.
Yeah, can you take your phone off speaker? That would be great, so we can not have an echo.
I'm
how are you?
not on speaker.
Okay.
But anyway, okay, so how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you ladies doing?
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, tell us. You know, we've got a few minutes here, so let's get into your history as a veteran and honoring you. Tell us a little bit about your history of how you got into becoming an Army veteran, like an Army sergeant. Or tell us a little bit about your start.
All righty. Well, let's see. You know, I think from a very early age, the military was something that I gravitated towards and was always something that I was interested in. And I think the interest really for me started hitting critical mass in, let's say, 1991. I would have been 7 years old at that point, and that, of course, was the year of the Gulf War, and that was also the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. So that year, you had a lot of military stories in the media and a lot of military news that was geared towards younger readers, and you know, that was really what solidified my interest. You know, I could see what these present day veterans were doing, and then read about the heroes that had come from all of the generations before. And that's when I made up my mind on some level that, hey, you know, I really wanted to duplicate that. I wanted to wear the uniform. I wanted to serve the flag as well. You know, just like a lot of the been recent heroes in Desert Storm and the latter-day heroes from World War II. And what really solidified it for me more than anything was, you know, 10 years later, of course, was 9/11, and that's what inspired me to join. And ended up serving in the Army, did 6 years, and yeah, I can say that it was a mixed bag. There were parts of it that were really good, and there were parts of it that were not so good, but on the whole, it was an incredible experience, and in many ways it made me who I am today. And it not only made me proud to have worn the uniform, but it also set the foundation for me to become a military historian and be able to write about just a slew of topics, and also get the stories out from other heroes who have served, and also just give me a perspective on all of the stories that I write, and, you know, be able to add that veteran's perspective in there, which I think adds in more ways than one a deeper dimension to the narrative. You know, just being able to understand where some of these veterans are coming from and package it in a story and in a format that's accessible to the public.
Well,
so
I think that's a big deal with your books. Like Nancy and I always talk about it. It's like you don't have to be in the military to understand it. There's some books that you write that, like, I'm like, dude, like you're getting battle strategy. But then I'm like, dude, now I'm into it. But you know what I mean? But you really grasp the human story of going into war, and if we don't understand the human story of war, then we're going to have a lot more bloodshed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the beauty of what you do. I mean, it is. It's you always bring us back home to, damn, this stuff went down, and this person really went for it and put themselves on the line. And I think that's something, isn't that the part of the story you always go to someone who's put themselves on the line and above the call of duty?
Yeah, that's always what I want to try to emphasize in any one of the stories that I write, is that, you know, here you have this hero who rises to the occasion, and when you look at it, very few times in history, you know, any of these gentlemen that I've written about, you know, there's nothing especially in their background that would indicate that they were destined for greatness or that they would gravitate towards a career in the military. you know, when you look at it, they're really people just like you and me. You know, I mean, they're people who could very easily be your neighbor. They could be your cousin or your uncle. You know, just normal people who, whenever the chips were down and the odds were stacked against them, they rose to the occasion and they ended up producing great results, and they did great things, things that were beyond the purview of what any normal peacetime individual would even think possible.
I just want to go to Coyote. Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Nancy. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know, no, I was thinking about I have a cousin Bill, by my aunt's so many marriages I can't keep track, but we were having Christmas dinner at her house, and there was noise. Somebody was doing firecrackers, and Bill went under the table, and we were all like, what's going on here? And so he explained to us about shell shock, and he was shaking the whole time. When we finally got him out from under the table, he was shaking the whole time and trying to explain, and you know, that made it real to me about war and what humans do to each other.
Right.
And because he was a tall, good-looking, kind person, and all of a sudden, almost, I don't know, he crumbled, you know? But then he had to come out from under the table and be who he is again in front of everybody, and he was embarrassed. And I just remember feeling, oh man, that's what war, that's what people do to each other. And thinking, there's got to be a way to make people kinder. There's got to be a way to not go there. It shouldn't have to happen.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah. And so, you know, and I want to ask you this. When people say thank you for your service, because it's not almost like a bumper sticker, you know, is there a better way to say it? Or people who have served, put their life on the line, are they okay with the thank you for your service? Almost like it's almost like you just say it.
Well, you know, that's a great question, Nancy, because you know, I've actually asked myself that question several times. You know, is there a better way to say it? Because you know, I mean, I make it a point to say it to the World War II veterans, the Vietnam vets that I've met, but I always think to myself, okay, well, when I say thank you to these guys, and when people say thank you to me, is there a better way of doing it? You know, besides just to really thank you, because, you know, on the one hand, you say to yourself, you know, there has to be something more, but is there really more that you can do? And now that I think about it, there was something, and for the life of me, I can't remember which veteran I heard this from, but it was part of a veterans panel that I was on, and he said something to the effect of, when people tell us thank you, the best way that they can actually show their thanks is to be somebody who was worth fighting for.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, wow.
Isn't that it? Like that.
That's cool. Yeah. That's way cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, he said, you know, if we're writing that blank check out to Uncle Sam for an amount up to and including our lives, be somebody who's worth fighting for. That means be an upright citizen, be fair and honest in your dealings with people. Be a sociopath. Don't be an SOB. You know, you know, be a good friend and a good neighbor to those who are around you, even when they don't see eye to eye with you on, you know, broader religious or political issues. You know, basically just be a good American citizen. If you want to thank us, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I think that things have become very...
Well said.
I agree.
I love that.
I agree. I think that things have become very commercial. And it shouldn't be. I mean, we're doing Veterans Day. It's not Veterans Day today, but we're doing it in advance. And we will promote this product of a show later on Veterans Day again. See, that's the thing. It becomes this product, but it shouldn't be. It should be something that is part of society, but we have to start with this, right? It's like, Black History Month, Women's History Month. We have to start with that. And it shouldn't be that we have that. Native American Month is also this month, by the way, and there's a lot of Native Americans that fought for us. Just saying.
Oh, in many
different ways. And we forget about them at times. They have. I mean, you've got to think, right, Mike? We've got the Code Talkers, the Navajo Code Talkers.
Right.
I mean, we had so many Native Americans that fought in our wars. Yet we were not nice to them when we landed here. Yet they still fought for us. So isn't that something?
Yeah.
So in a way, wars do bring people together. But you know what I mean? It's a weird thing to say, but it does. It is. It's like we need to unite to say no to that over there. But you've got Coyote Recon out is your latest book. When is that? When can people get it? We did the interview last first Monday with you. So and everybody, Mike is on every first Monday. So, but when we're anxious.
I know. Me too. So, it'll be out in time for the Black Friday rush.
Okay, cool. Everybody. So Mike-Guardia.com is the website, but then keep up with them on Amazon, bookshop.org, all those places for that. And I would say still like Hal Moore, all your Hal Moore books that we're talking, we're talking about military heroes. Like, that's got to be on people's Christmas list this year, too. And Combat Diaries, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Also one of the latest ones, the latest that's out that people need to get. But then you've got a Christmas book for kids. Tell everybody about that.
Yes, ma'am. So here is a Christmas rendition of the Night Before Christmas. It is set to the same rhyming pattern and scale as that original Night Before Christmas poem, and it is a satire of the original verse that is set against the backdrop of World War II. So it's a World War II Night Before Christmas, and jolly old Saint Nick, he makes a surprise visit to the Allied troops who are fighting at the Battle of the Bulge in December of 1944. And it just shows that Santa Claus and the Christmas spirit is always going to be on the side of right. And even in the darkest of times, when the battle between good and evil is at its height, the spirit of Saint Nick will be there to reward those who are doing the Lord's work and are trying to make the world a better place.
That's awesome. And I know our next show with you, we're going to talk about Christmas in the trenches, right, around the world.
Yes, ma'am.
That we are looking forward to that. I just want people to understand that it's like we get all cozy, but what about the military families during Christmas?
Right.
When, their loved ones are away, and what are they going through? And whether it's World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, Afghanistan, the Gulf Wars, right? Like, what is happening? So we're going to talk about that, everybody, on the next first Monday here on Big Blend Radio with Mike Guardia. Keep up with Mike at Mike-Guardia.com. So we're going to move on. Mike, I'm so glad you could join us. I know we had some interruptions on the show with you getting on, but I'm glad you're here. And we're going to move on with our friend Glynn-Burrows over in Norfolk, England, talking about World War II history. And boy, does he have some things to say about war. I love Glynn, and we talked about mental health, and we talked a little bit about everything, actually. And then we're going to close with the song from the Gunboat Diplomats. And I love this band so much, and it's not about their music is it's a variety band, which is the blend, right? And this is a song, Beneath the Solemn Sky. I know we've played it so many times on shows with you, Mike, but what is a gunboat diplomat, Mike?
All right, so a gunboat diplomat is really just a fancy way for saying it's really a fancy way of saying sailor. Well, it's a naval officer who is becoming a Johnny-on-the-spot diplomat who, is taking his gunboat, essentially his gunship, be it a battleship or a cruiser or whatnot, and, as a representative, as a forceful representative of his home government is, showing the naval power of his home country to someone else to try to force their compliance to do something. Yeah.
Okay. Dang.
Yeah.
See, no matter what we ask Mike, he has the answer. I don't know what to ask you anymore. You always have the answer. I'm trying to stump you all the time, and it doesn't work. Well,
no.
Wait. Okay, Mike, I know. If you could go back in the future, what car would you drive? I know the answer.
Of course it would be Doc Brown's time machine.
I knew it. He's going to go in the DeLorean. He's going to go in. He's going to get in there. Yeah. He's going to get in the DeLorean. Yeah, what is it about the DeLorean? What is it?
Because the doors open up instead of sideways.
Yeah. All right.
See?
And once it hits 88 miles per hour, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. See?
There you go, babies. I brought that up because Mike also has a podcast. Tell everybody about your podcast.
It's like the Batmobile. It's like the Batmobile.
Yeah. Badassery, that's what it's called. Sorry. Tell everybody your podcast because it's cool on YouTube. Tell them.
So this past August, I launched a video podcast. It's called Retro Wave History, and it is various topics of history told in an 80s VHS format. And for anyone who likes the 80s aesthetic with some good solid history, I think it'd be right up their alley.
Cool. Right on, everybody. So take a listen. Take a watch, actually, on YouTube. Keep up with Mike at Mike-Guardia.com.
Cool.
Follow his YouTube channel. He's got thousands of followers there, and he posts stuff all the time, things that I'm like, holy cow, that happened? Really? You freak me out all the time, Mike. Every day I get a notification from Mike, and I'm going, we really blew that up? We did that, and we did it that way? Oh, we did. So anyway, keep up with Mike there, and we look forward to Christmas. We're going to do our Christmas segment next. So thanks for joining us. And here we go. Our segment with Glynn.
Ladies.
Thank you.
Take care.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. We're here talking with Glynn Burrows, the owner of Norfolk Tours in England and family historian. So go to his website, norfolk-tours.co.uk. This is our special Veterans Day show, live with Mike-Guardia. Of course, Glynn is in England, so he can't be live at the same time because it's a little past his bedtime. It's over past midnight right now, so we decided we'll record this with him beforehand. But Glynn has been on our show for years talking about military history and how it connects between England and America, especially World War II. But over in England, Veterans Day is not always on November 11th. I believe it's a Remembrance Day, and I think it's the second Sunday of every month. Glynn, welcome back.
Hi. No, Remembrance Day is always on the 11th of the 11th.
Oh, it is. Okay.
We do have service on the Sunday nearest to Remembrance Day, and we have poppies that we wear around that time for remembrance, because you know that in the First World War the battlefields did grow a lot of poppies, because what happens with fields that get cultivated a lot is poppies seem to resurface, and obviously the battlefields of the Somme and Passchendaele and all that got blown up, and the poppies reappeared. So the poppy was taken as a symbol of the First World War, and then remembrance is from then on in, from the First World War onwards.
And Remembrance Day, when you think about poppies, always think of Flanders Field, that poem
exactly.
that was written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Canadian that wrote that, I think.
I don't know.
I have to look it up. I have to look it back up again. Yeah, I always go through it every year, and I'm like, every time I read that, I'm like, wow, man, it's real. It really brings it home to being real. Over here, Veterans Day is about celebrating those who are veterans, so they're alive and have not passed on. So Memorial Day is more about those who have passed, but I think it's always about both. And Veterans Day is also about those who served, whether it's military or, and this is just for me, the armed forces, firefighters, policemen, those who have sacrificed their lives. So I look at it, all of it, that we need to celebrate both. That's just my personal part of it. For England, is Remembrance Day for both or mostly those who have passed on?
Remembrance Day is to remember those who died, but it always involves old soldiers. So, the cenotaph, the royal family always lays wreaths at the cenotaph, and the parade of old soldiers and lots of other members of the other forces, like you say, like, the RAF, the Navy, the Army, but also the firefighters, and that, the other people, the nurses, they come along as well. So everybody who has a hand in looking after us, basically, takes part in Remembrance Day services. And it's always fully represented by every religion, every political party, everybody respects Remembrance Sunday. And all of the Commonwealth come and lay wreaths. It is really a massive thing.
I think it's important.
It's just public service, the people who serve the public in one way or the other. I'm not talking about retail shopping. I'm talking about
or politicians.
People who
I didn't say it.
Uh-oh. I'm talking about humane public services.
Yeah.
And
I mean, especially in England, where we had a lot of bombing during the Second World War and the First World War. I mean, there were bombs dropped in the First World War by Zeppelins. In 1915, 1916, they dropped bombs by Zeppelins. So, especially in the Second World War, the firefighters were literally fighting fires as they were still bombing us.
Wow.
So those firefighters need to be recognised, and that is the big thing that a lot of people forget. Yes, there were people who were fighting on the front lines, but there were also people who were fighting behind the scenes. And actually, the person that I've chosen was not actually in the military at all.
Who?
Okay.
Well, there was a young lady called Jeannie McIntosh, and she had an uncle who lived in, whether that was in France or Belgium, but it was on the continent. And she was staying with her uncle and her aunt at the outbreak of war, and she couldn't get back to England.
Oh.
So she stayed, and as her uncle was a member of the French Resistance, she also became a member of the French Resistance. And she helped lots of Allied forces to escape. And one of the men who she helped to escape was a bloke called Frank Andrews, and he came back to England after the war. Jeannie McIntosh was arrested by the Gestapo and was tortured. And as it happened, the release of the prison camp that she was in by the Allies happened just before she was due to be executed. So the end of the war came just in time for this young lady. Now, after the war, Frank Andrews decided he would look up this young lady, and they got married.
Oh, nice.
And they became the postmaster and the postmistress at the post office in the village where I grew up. I never knew them. They were gone.
No way.
My mum remembers them. And the story in the village was all about Mrs. Andrews, who was tortured by the Gestapo, and she and her husband, he was an RAF bloke, and they got married, and they lived in the post office in my little village.
Wow. Oh, they wait a minute. They lived in the post office?
Yeah, they ran the post office. They ran the village shop in my little village.
Wow.
And that to me,
it's amazing.
Is the sort of people who also need to be remembered on Veterans Day, on Remembrance Sunday. You know, this young lady, she was only a spring chicken. You know, she was only a youngster. And she actually was tortured. I mean, my mum told me things that happened. I don't know whether they're true, so I can't repeat them. But, you know, I believe that she was tortured by the Gestapo. And, you know, she was only an ordinary young woman. Yet she needs to be remembered. So the people of the French Resistance, the people like Jeannie McIntosh, the people like Edith Cavell, who was also a local woman from Norwich area, who was actually shot by the Germans in the First World War. They are the sort of people who also need to be remembered. Because
Clara Barton?
Sorry?
Clara Barton, the nurse? You know, that
earlier.
There were loads of them. But they're the ones that we need to also remember and think about. You know, they were just ordinary people going about their daily work. They needn't have actually done that. Jeannie McIntosh decided to become a member of the French Resistance. She didn't need to. You know, she weren't serving in the army or anything. So they're the sort of people who I really think we need to take our hats off to them.
I absolutely agree. Like, when you look at here, we had the Underground Railroad. When, you know, slavery was getting abolished and, you know, slaves could get out. But what happens? Oh, you're free. But you weren't given education and you've just been working for the man, you know. And then here it is, like Harriet Tubman and people like that who wrote and did these amazing things. The abolitionists, a lot of women in this country stood up and used the power of the pen and their houses. And when you go to their houses, these huge mansions, and when you see where these people hid, these tiny, I mean, I don't even know if my thigh will fit in these places that the people hid. Like you think about Anne Frank. Look at Anne Frank.
Another one.
Right?
You know, they are the sort of people who, you know, need to stand up beside the soldiers who were also obviously need to be remembered. I mean, the other person who I would like to remember on your Veterans Day is the bloke who came over to see where he flew from. I had the honour of showing this man the airfield he flew from. And he was 93. He was just a normal little old man, and he flew from this airfield in Norfolk during the Second World War. You know, he was only a spring chicken again. You know, he was only 19, 20 when he was doing this.
Think about that.
They are heroes.
They're the greatest generation in say, World War II. They're young, so young to go out there and do that. I mean, when I think about what I was doing at 19, well, we don't need to get into that on the show, but these people
I can
really
talk about it.
No, we don't need to. But isn't it night and day different, right? What we could get away with is 19-year-olds, and we would never be able to if it wasn't for these men and women who really served at that point. And so when we talk about the cost of freedom, there is a cost to freedom, and it's alive.
Of course. It's everybody who came before us.
It's also, I wanted to ask you this, Glynn, before I get to that. What about your cousin that you found that you went to Canada for? He served.
Well, yeah, he went to Halifax in Nova Scotia in 1815, and then he was out there. You know, he sailed all the way across the Atlantic.
That's crazy.
You know, I mean, it's amazing. And he served over in Canada, and he contracted ophthalmia. I think it's ophthalmia. Some eye problem, and he was pensioned out and sent back to England. So he sailed across the Atlantic twice. You know, in the early 1800s. He must have been absolutely petrified because he came from a little tiny village in Norfolk, and he ended up in Nova Scotia.
Wow! But you know, when you go to like World War II, World War I, World War II, then we think about Vietnam, and you think about the Korean War, and how crazy the tactics of battle happen. And you think about the lady that was, tortured by the Gestapo, right?
Yeah.
So the trauma that comes from that, and you think about now some of the wars that we've had, the Desert Storm, the Gulf War.
Yeah.
You think about what happens, when I think we connected with you right after we were in 29 Palms, California, and we lived in a community that was military, and we could hear at times there were suicides by gunshot that you could hear.
Stress.
There was
serving. The stress of serving.
The men and women were on so many tours, as they'd call it, come home, and to settle back in a normal home lifestyle wasn't happening very well. And so we, in this country, I think it's only maybe over the last 10 years that we've started to really be open about post-traumatic stress disorder and PTSD, and, getting guys and gals who have served to get help, and for us to do the reach out for help, and for people to understand that. Even firefighting, when we went through all the wildfires in California, at one point, like a friend said, you've got PTSD because I didn't sleep for 2 years, thinking it was a fire in the backyard.
Also, what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of people who are on the streets are ex-servicemen.
Absolutely.
Because they don't. A lot of them have been indoctrinated into doing what they're told. So when they come out of the services, a lot of them don't actually know what to do when they're not being told what to do. Or they have had such terrible experiences that they turn to substance abuse, and they end up on the streets.
That's what happens here too. Does England have a program where they're helping? I mean, is that something that's talked about, or is it kind of a shush thing?
A lot of it is swept under the carpet. Like mental health. Mental health in general now is talked about more often than it used to be.
Absolutely.
But mental health is still not actually dealt with properly, as far as I'm concerned. And I am someone who has suffered with my own mental health problems. So I know what services I was given, and I know for a fact that the ones that I were given actually didn't do me a lot of good. They weren't what I needed. And also when I worked for a living, rather than being self-employed, my bosses didn't have a clue what to do, because I hadn't broken my arm, I hadn't broken my leg, I could still walk, but they didn't know what to do when I just sat at my desk and cried. They didn't know what to do because they weren't used to someone crying up the corner.
You're not taught that.
No.
When you're
especially
a manager,
if you're a man. Especially as a man.
No, but when you go into management of anything, like Lisa and I've been in one company where we climbed up to being managers of stores. There was no training.
It wasn't good
for anything. Well, no, it's true. There was absolutely. There was somebody slips and fall. You call 911.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was nothing about recognizing
someone coming in. I had someone who was getting abused at home, and I'm just like, okay, we need to protect you. But then her boyfriend was stalking her at her place.
There's no
and there was no anything to help her. I'm going, no, she's in trouble, and she's a mess, So to me, that's we still have that, and for our servicemen and women, I just still feel like we have to have this bigger open discussion and say it's okay, because you're not a bad person if you're going through mental, and I would like to say emotional health too. That's the same. It's connected.
Well, it's the same thing.
You're going, when you go and fight a war, even going through boot camp. Holy cow! No way. Like that's intense. But when you go to war and you're fighting and you've got that danger all the time, your body is in 100% adrenaline. You're in that zone of fear, fight or flight. You're not in that calm place.
You've also got to realize that these people who were on the front line, who were seeing their mates killed in front of their very eyes.
That's the other thing.
Had nothing to make them ready for that. They had come from the fields where they were cutting corn or whatever they were doing, and then suddenly they were thrown into the trenches, especially in the First World War. That was even more horrendous. They were just thrown into the trenches and being surrounded by bodies that were being blown up. You know, who can actually grasp?
How do you train somebody for that?
No.
You know, and they didn't.
Also, we need to also acknowledge, like we've already said, you know, the firefighters, the ambulance crew, the medics who were on the front line. They had to pick up bodies that were blown to pieces. You know, they need support. They really do, and they are the people that I want to try and put over to listeners, that we need to remember them as well, not just the ones who won the Victoria Cross or the Purple Heart or whatever. You know, we've got to remember the ones who just quietly got on with life and picked up the pieces, so to speak.
They always say that the quiet people are the strong, quiet people. You need to check in on them more than you think.
Well, one bloke I remember who lived in the village next to us, I went to school with both of his daughters, and I didn't know until he died that he was a Japanese prisoner of war. Never spoke.
Oh, boy. Oh, my God. That's got to... No. Because they tortured people.
Exactly. You know, the Japanese prisoners of war went through, well, worse than hell. You know, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean,
terrible.
And they 99% of them didn't talk about it because it was too much.
No, they don't. And I know my Uncle Ward, which was, I think, my Aunt Babs's like first out of 5 husbands, whatever. No, seriously, she went through a lot. But I remember as a kid staying in their house for like 2 or 3 weeks. And he would literally bang his head against the walls and say he has a headache. And I'm like, well, if you stop banging your head against the wall.
Yeah, but
as a kid, because I'm not understanding. And I just remember my aunt taking a sleeping pill and like whatever. It was the most bizarre thing. And he did kill himself.
Yeah.
And my family's reaction was, at least he didn't do it in the same county where we all lived.
Jesus.
I know. That was to me like the most.
That's when you don't connect with your family very well anymore. No wonder Nancy went to Africa.
Yeah, because
that's a rough. No, but suicide.
Because when he was okay, he was a really, really nice, gentle person, and he would get down on the floor and play with you, and he was a really kind person. But then all of a sudden he'd get this thing and he would go crazy, and nobody did anything. And then and then you're watching TV programs where paramedics come in and firemen come in and people help each other. I'm like, well, where's that?
Yeah. But the suicide thing, you know what you're saying about the family being like that, and I'm not related. I am, I suppose, somewhere in there. But that's when you have family history you don't want to be related to, when people don't want to turn their head about stuff like that. But if you think we're just talking about mental health. Suicide. Suicide has always been a hush-hush thing. That's the skeletons in the closet, literally, right?
Yeah.
Suicide has not been, it's always been a hush-hush thing until I would say maybe 25, 30 years. 40, maybe pushing it.
Even now, really. I mean,
just even now, because
it's not really something that people understand too well. But,
well,
hopefully people get help before that get to that. But sometimes people have gone too far and they will never get help. It's like any other problem. You have to admit that you've got a problem before you can deal with it.
Exactly.
And we, as society.
Crazy. Words like crazy.
That you just used.
Yes, words like crazy.
I had to say that.
No, but it's true. Words like crazy kind of tag the person, and I think words like that make it so they can't get out.
Yeah.
It's your fault then, Nancy.
Yeah, you said crazy. Well, Glynn says no. It's gone mad. No, that's mad. Yeah. But okay, so I want to go just in closing with this about honoring people. I mean, we've got to think about war in general over the years. Yeah. So I want to honor the young kid that goes out, the little drummer boy with the little flute that goes out that they put out in wars, and then everybody did those rows and just went and bayoneted and shot. But that little kid would go out there. I mean, how did we put kids in the front lines of war? And then I look at some of what's happening in Africa with the skirmishes and the war, how they're drugging kids and making them into little soldiers. Yeah. Where is our mind?
They did it during the Second World War. The Germans had the Hitler Youth, didn't they? It's all about indoctrination.
Yeah.
You know, if you can make somebody give up everything for the cause, then you've got people who are cannon fodder. That's all they are.
And that's and even I always look at how the old battles were fought, where they just stood up in a line, marched towards each other. Here's a big line here. Here's a big line, and shoot at each other. Like, well, that's stupid.
Drew their swords and shot each other.
It's stupid. They just stood in front of each other and shot at each other. I mean, how dumb can you get?
Yeah,
why would you do that?
They were commanded by generals who normally sat up on a hill looking over the battlefield on their horses.
And having, let's have a spot of tea and tell them what to do.
No, but did you ever see the general in the line, not on a horse, in the front line, the first one to go out and get shot? No.
Not so often.
No.
Maybe the Scottish, because they were kind of like, let's go, boys.
But so, I mean, and then when we got to Vietnam, you started hearing about, it's a new kind of warfare. Like people are hiding. Well, good.
I'd
about
hide.
Time.
I'd run.
You never know, but I mean,
I'd run.
At that time, we didn't do this big, we're just going to march in this big force like it's a parade or something.
I just wish we didn't have to do it at all.
Well, yeah.
But that's not reality. That's not reality. And so those who stand up.
If everybody just chilled out a bit.
Yeah, but look at Ukraine and Russia right now too. Yeah. And that's speaking of kids. I mean, now our where's the laws? You know, with women and children being blown up, those laws have gone away. It just seems like to me it's a war crime what's happening. That's just me, in my opinion. But I don't. These are important. These are important days to remind us of who it's human beings out there.
The futility of war.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
Oh, but you just used it again.
I know, because it suits that. It suits that.
I know. Glynn.
I mean, it's humanity's attempt to be human. I don't know, but can't you get past this where you hurt each other?
But I think this is the importance of what Glynn does. If you're taking people to these battlefields and where the airfields were, and people can reconnect with their family history and ancient. I mean, you can take them to the Roman places too. I mean, it's ancient.
Yeah.
And so it really connects back to us about what we've been through and what we're going through today, because war is still here. It reminds us of the people and our families and what they have gone through. You know, when you start to realize who has fought in your family, what they went through, you think about what was it like in the trenches with bombs going off and grenades whizzing by over your head and being shot at. Think about it. It's cold.
One of the elderly gentlemen I went to see, he was a cousin of mine. He was about 97, I think, when I went to see him.
Wow.
And he had been in the trenches, and he told me that the worst thing was that he couldn't take his boots off for months, and that the mud in the trenches was often blood making the mud rather than water making the mud. And he said that one day he was standing shoulder to shoulder with his mate in a trench, and he felt his mate go like that because he'd just been hit by a bullet and was dead. And he actually felt the bullet hit his mate. And that is something. And he still felt that when he was 97.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's that sort of thing that has to be remembered, because and that's why I was saying about this woman in the village, because they were just normal people. And that's the thing, this man who came over with his daughter, who was actually over here flying Liberator bombers during the war. He was just a normal little man, There was nothing special about him. He was 93, but he was just a normal little man. But when I can put the normal little man, so to speak, or the normal woman, or the normal fireman, or the normal ambulance crew into a place that I can then recognize, then I can then realize what people went through, because I can identify the people, and it's about people. War isn't about guns. War's about people.
Well,
and the effect that the war had on the people. I mean, during the Second World War and the First World War, just think how many women lost their sons. Just imagine how many women lost their husbands. How many husbands lost their wives and their daughters. It's real. And that is what I think we should all remember, that they weren't just a name on a war memorial. They were people.
Exactly.
Is the most important thing.
Well put, Glynn. On that note, everyone, go call Glynn. Go see him, and he'll take you to places that you'll really be able to connect with those people's story, their individual stories. And I think that's so important about family history, is that you figure these stories out. And think about that when you meet people or go to a shop and you hear that they're a veteran. What did they go through? War, the name of freedom, right? So thank you so much, Glynn. Everyone, Norfolk-tours.co.uk is the website for Glynn. You can see his stories up on blendradioandtv.com. Also, nationalparktraveling.com, because he talks about nature, too. We like our nature, and one must have nature. Yes. Well, we do, don't we? Hey, we were good about politics, but thank you, Glynn.
Thanks a lot. See you later.
Hey.
Brown and withered garden, there's a chapel in the sand, where the wicked and the faithful come to make their final stand. As another bitter season ends, now the hour is at hand, for the seeds of hope have fallen on parched and stony ground. Can you hear the prophets calling as the world keeps spinning round? But it all goes with the territory, and for what it's worth, the meek and brave prepare a grave in the dusty, barren earth, while the bones of last week's promises are buried in the square. The saints and doubting Thomases all bow their heads in prayer, but the words will bring no comfort to the foolish or the wise, till the heavens rain on the brittle grain like teardrops from the quiet, solemn sky. Now the thunder clouds are gathering, a shadow on the land. So rejoice, you sons and daughters, but wouldn't it be rich if the holy healing waters soon undermine the bridge, rushing up to breach the levee on that long and fateful day,
till the rising flood made it clear as mud. All the sins are washed away, down the ancient winding river to the dark and briny sea. Now these old foundations shiver at the sacred memory of that brief and blessed moment when Providence supplied a sad lament for the pen